Welcome to this edition. I'm Annette Compo with Opening Doors with Annette. I get the proud way of going to introducing our next guest, Mayor Joe LaRussa. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Annette. It's a privilege to be here.
And it's so funny because when I have guests come on the show, a lot of times I have relationships with them prior to it. So once again, you're one of those that I have the prior relationship for. And what's really neat is first off, just thank you so much for what you do for our community. Leadership is, such a huge part of my life and a very fond part of raising my kids in the city and having a business in the city. And I just want to tell you, thank you so much for that, because you give me the ability to be able to do that.
Well, thank you very much for that. Yes. Appreciate the compliment.
And so today we're not here in the mayor capacity so much, right? We're here as well with something very, very fun to me, which is fine arts and music.
Yep.
So I said to you, we need to get this on my podcast because I think that there's such a huge push so people can understand a lot of the different resources that we have in our community. And one that does go overlooked is the fine arts, right? So on my past episodes, I've actually had theatrical on here as well. And so to have music on it is obviously right fitting. So tell us what's going on in the area.
Well, first of all, thanks again, Annette. I mean, when it comes to wearing multiple hats, I think we're kindred spirits in that regard. So yes, today's hat. So I've been a member of the Henry Ford Big Band for about 32 years now. Wow. I joined the band when I was in high school, and I still remember my audition to this day. I was asked to go to the Performing Arts Center at Henry Ford College, and the director said, I'd like you to sit in with this band. And of course, I was lead alto in the Dearborn High School Jazz Band, so of course he wanted me to sit in with his premier group. And I walked in there and I learned humility that night. These cats, they had just come off of a European tour. They were super tight. And I was just left foot on one, right foot on two, trying to keep up with these guys. And I asked at the end, I said, are you sure this is the group you wanted me to sit in with? And he said, you'll be fine. See you in 2 weeks. And I've been in ever since.
Love that.
So now the group has evolved over the years. I mean, as you might expect, several decades later, we've been doing a lot of paying it forward, helping young artists in the Metro Detroit area, particularly jazz artists, who are used to maybe performing with a solo piano, a rhythm trio, but not with a 17-piece big band, with a bunch of horns, full rhythm section. It's just a different sound. So we've partnered with a vocalist in the area. Her name's Olivia Van Goor, and we will be presenting at the Civic Theater in downtown Farmington. Big Band Goes to the Movies. Love that.
Now, this is not the first one.
No, it is not. As a matter of fact, I brought last year's program just to give you a sense of what the show will be. So Olivia is from Western Michigan. She is actually on faculty at Hillsdale College, teaching there. And she's an active performer in the Southeast Michigan jazz scene. And she hand-selected a bunch of movie-related songs that were made for Big Band. So I would encourage you to follow Olivia on social media, follow the Big Band. We're on YouTube at Henry Ford Big Band, if you just search for that on YouTube, or you can follow Olivia Van Goor. She does some great promo, and she's actually done some fun things with the theater manager to get people talking about the show already.
I love that. Now, you'll always be able to click right on our screen. Right underneath us, you'll have all the contact information that Joe is mentioning about connecting with them and following them. So what number is this? Because this is the second time in Farmington, correct?
Yeah, second time in Farmington. It's actually our fourth time performing with Olivia, but when she creatively was trying to figure out what her next project was going to be, she was really struggling, because being the singer in the dark corner of the steakhouse on a Friday night isn't the most creative outlet for a performer, right? So we were having breakfast and I said, well, what would you like to do? She said, I would love to do a golden age of Hollywood, show and feature the band. And I said, well, let's do it. And she says, well, but I can't, I don't even know where to have it. I said, I think I know somebody who can help you with the theater. So the Civic Theater, for those of you that don't know, has a performance stage, and it's an Art Deco 40s era. It's the perfect backdrop
for the big band,
for a golden age of Hollywood, in an old movie house, and the band, and the whole way. So the venue is also a very important player in the picture here.
Well, that venue is so cool. I actually, a little known secret, that I go to the movies alone. Not all the time, but when I decide that I'm going to go alone, it's always at the Farmington Civic because of the venue. I get to be in the back. No one knows who I am. I'm watching my most favorite movie. And it's kind of cool. The last time I was in the Civic was Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And they were playing my most favorite movie, which made it even more incredible, which is Notting Hill, right?
Okay.
That's the one where Julia Roberts says, I'm just a girl looking for a boy to love me. And it was Valentine's Day. And it was a one-time, showing of it in my most favorite theater. So the fact that I get to go back and hear the big band in that Civic Theater just warms my heart. Now, we've been a sponsor individually for this because obviously throughout my years of philanthropy, music has played such a huge part in my world. And, if I think back in regards to where I was when I first started, it was the flute, right? I got introduced to the flute in grade school. And then, of course, I found out, okay, who's the guy in the front that's getting all the attention with the big wand? That's the job that I need to figure it out, right? So then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I can do this. And I became the drum major. And I was drum major for 4 years and then ended up going on and doing my undergrad and ended up with a minor in music, which is obviously, of course, what I know. And of course, my parents had me playing piano when I was 5. But great story. 2 kids, my son, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
And he picked up the trumpet, and I was like, let's put that down and stick with football, right? Because not everybody, and he is an incredible leader today in our community, but his musician was not his passion, right? Where athletics and football and, brotherhood and leadership through brotherhood, that's his gig. Well, my daughter, she literally started playing piano when she was 5 and then now onto drums and then now and continues to be this beautiful pianist. And now vocal, and just took the largest honor at Ensemble singing a French classical piece because she's 4th year French. So I share all of that on this podcast because that's why I have such a philanthropic view of music and fine arts, because it really does impact. So the fact that you're giving back to young musicians and giving them an experience, that is huge. Tell us more about that program.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for your support, because without community support, these kinds of things don't happen. And that's true for all public art, whether it's visual arts or performing arts. And for those of you that haven't been in downtown Farmington lately, there's a lot of public art down there now.
There's a lot.
We have spent a lot of attention and energy amplifying the experience of being downtown because there's cool things to see and cool backdrops for people to take photos. That's an intentional thing that we do to make the vibe of our public spaces so vibrant and cool. But on the performing arts side, that is a little bit more than a one and done. A visual art piece is a project. You're able to produce it and install it, and then it's there, and people can enjoy it in a passive way, but it's done.
Right.
The performing arts have another layer to them. The performing arts require constant renewal because, right, once you've heard the band play the same 5 songs a few times, you're kind of like, okay, what else you got?
Right. Unless it's like the 80s.
Right.
But it's not.
There are those songs where we just, we all kind of gravitate toward our
for
favorites.
years, yeah.
But that was one of the reasons why we chose to support young musicians, because they are the innovators. They are the ones with the ideas. They are the creative minds who need the support to be creative and to be able to expand their artistic horizons. And so for us, there were so many people that invested in the band over the years to enable us to have opportunities as musicians. So just as a sidebar, 1/3 of the band is professional musicians, 1/3 are music educators.
Oh, love that.
And 1/3 are working stiffs like me.
Working
So,
stiffs.
to have the kinds of opportunities that we've had as musicians would not have come to pass had it not been for supporters of us to be able to play jazz festivals in Europe, to be able to go to the Virgin Islands, to go to all these classical places, Carnegie Hall 2 times, New Orleans, hotbeds of jazz, and to be among these other players these cats that are doing it day in and day out. It was really a treat for us. And that's the feeling that we want to give to the next generation of performers. And so for us, it was really about being grateful for what we were able to do and now to be able to hand that to the next generation. And performers like Olivia who are working their keisters off, like I said, taking gigs where they can take them, but now to be able to showcase them
puts them on the actual a stage.
Correct. And to be able
In
to
the
hold
best
them
light,
up, to be
right?
able to hold them up, and I have to say, these younger performers, they're not used to that treatment.
Right.
They come to a conversation. I remember one of our first conversations where we had Olivia as our guest performer, and she was like, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about? I said, this is your show. You are the headliner. You are the reason people
Tell
are coming.
us what
You
you
tell
want.
us what you want. We will be ready for what you want to provide to the audience. This is not the restaurant gig where I want you to be Etta James or,
Leaning on the piano.
right.
Yeah.
None of that stuff.
Smoky room.
What if you could perform anything? What's the thing you've always wanted to perform? And so being able to give her that creative freedom is not, generally speaking, what happens for a working musician.
Yeah, and what's really cool about it is that when you elevate that conversation, and I say this very openly because I love to pour into people that are younger than me. One is I would like them to replace me at some point, right? That's the whole objective. But when you pour into people at that level, and then you elevate the conversation, and what you're doing is elevating the experience where they're now experiencing something that they normally wouldn't have. Their confidence level goes up, their performance is better, and here's the key piece of it all. When they do another event that's not this, they already have the experience. So their resume is already being built for them, but also just the mindset that you have literally elevated their mindset. And that is huge. And thank you so much for that.
Well, it's our pleasure. And the audience wins too, because how many places can you go for $20
Right.
and hear the kind of talent that we're presenting, in this format, in this venue? I mean, that is another reason why we do what we do. As many people have probably experienced, whether you're on Ticketmaster or you're on any other platform trying to find affordable entertainment, to be able to utilize community assets like the Civic Theater to bring talented people there. My only request from Olivia was, hey, when you hit the big time, just let us open for you. That's all we want. Just let us open for 2 songs. That's all we want. But we know that there's more for these artists, and we expect them to grow beyond what we can do for them. So that's another reason why I think the audience also benefits from this, because they get a great show at an affordable price. The artist gets the kind of exposure they deserve. The band gets the pay it forward that we are trying to achieve. So I think the triple win is really a great motivator for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as we come to a close, I always ask my guests, especially ones that are closest to me, because it is a tradition here at Opening Doors with Annette, is if you could go back to your younger self, your younger you, what would you tell that person?
That one, I would say to my younger self, your life will never be less complicated than it is right now. So whatever you're thinking about doing, you can have one of 2 conversations with yourself 6 months from now. Man, am I glad I got that done? Or man, I could have had that done by now. And you have to decide which of those 2 conversations you want to have with yourself. But I would definitely say, don't hesitate. Whatever it is you're considering, go for it. It's better to say, I tried it and it didn't work out, than to sit there and wonder, what if? So definitely take advantage of the fact that your life is never going to be less complicated than it is today.
On that note, because I have nothing else to say, because that is the best close I've ever done here on the podcast with the Opening Doors with Annette. Joe, once again, thank you so much for your leadership, your involvement in the community with these opportunities for young musicians, and just thank you for being here and being such a cool guy.
Thank you, Annette. I really appreciate it.
Until our next episode, this is Annette Compo. We'll see you then.